Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 82 of Big Brother Season 23's Overnight Feeds Recaps. And welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. And welcome to our last Sunday night of Big Brother 23. Yay! I gotta say, Sunday nights have been especially rough to cover this year with so many, all decisions basically being decided every week in the very beginning. The Sunday nights before veto ceremony have been especially tough to cover. Not as much conversations, not as much drama and chaos on this particular night as some other nights and certainly some other seasons. So our last Sunday night, let's get right into it. All right, first of all, so Xavier and Azah are going to be facing off on finale night, going against each other in the final competition to decide which of them gets to take Big D to the final two chair. Yeah, and I truly do believe that that either one of them will take Big D with them, will drag Big D with them into that final two chair. Now, we'll talk about that. A little bit of conversation this evening. Just because it's some slow periods during the night doesn't mean there weren't a few conversations worth talking about. So we will talk about that. But again, finale night Wednesday, Azah, Xavier, the winner gets to decide who they want to sit next to in the final two chair. It could be a decision that could be the difference between $750,000 and $75,000 second prize. That's a lot of pressure, right? All right, so on to the feeds and some of the conversations we did have going on last night. First of all, let's talk about Xavier and Azah cuddling in the living room underneath a blanket, looking very cozy with each other. Not the first time they've done that, and not the first time they're going to do it in this particular evening. They're spending a bit of time cuddling up pretty close to one another. Is this true? I don't even want to call it romance. I don't even want to call it showmance. Is it friendliness, or is this just some gameplay going on primarily from Xavier? Well, the cynic in me kind of thinks it's gameplay, and it's a matter of Xavier trying to stay as close and as bonded as tightly as possible to Azah as he possibly can. Again, if Azah was to win the competition on Wednesday night, she would be deciding whether or not she wants to take Xavier or Big D. So it certainly benefits Xavier to stay as close as possible to Azah. And he can't get much closer than he's getting right now while he's cuddled up underneath that blanket. So we get a little cuddling going on throughout the evening. While they're doing that, Big D back making the big moves in the back bedroom. Now Big D is back there. He's practicing his jury speech. He's practicing it over and over and over again. Basically, it's a rehash of what we saw on the TV episode last night, with him just claiming that he decided to create an alliance with all the Black House guests, that he was a leader of the alliance, that he had the idea of putting a pawn next to an alliance member whenever one of them was on the block, that he ran the house, that he didn't need to win competitions every week to stay alive. He's got all these talking points that in the end, none of them are probably going to matter, but he's got all the talking points. He's also mentioning the brilliance of creating a final two with both Xavier and Kyland on day number one. And now with Xavier, just a little point. I think it was a little bit later in the season before he created that final two with Xavier. But he's claiming he made both the final twos on the very first day in order to protect himself, so he could get to the very end. He also talks about in this little speech, remember, he's only got about a minute and a half or so, but he also talks about in this practice eviction jury speech that he made the big move in sending Kyland out the door. Well, kind of give Xavier a little more credit for that and talking Big D into it. But you got to talk about something if you're in the final two chair, right? So he's trying to come up with the points that he thinks will make the difference to the jury. It won't. All right. Before we go on, do y'all just know how painful it is for me to be watching the live feeds and have on two screens Azah and Xavier cuddling, not saying much of anything, just cuddling up with each other. And then on the other two screens, I get to watch Big D practicing his jury speech and explaining why he should win $750,000 for this season, and practicing that speech over and over again. Yeah, that was a fun night watching the live feeds during that particular conversations and activities. All right, after that's over, we do have some more card playing, as we've been seeing with these three house guests. They're playing cards. Apparently, they also got a Jenga set, the tower stacking game. And they play that for just a little bit, not too much. And they go back to playing some cards and such. And there's a lot of napping going on. Normally, Big Brother's strict about no napping from early in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. Not so much last week, and I'm okay with that. But a lot of napping going on. We do have Big D and Azah in bed talking to an overhead camera over in the corner of the yacht room. They're looking straight up at the camera, and they're just talking about very, very much non-game type material. Talking about their happiest moments. Mentioned about the Big D says getting the key to the Big Brother house has probably been one of his happiest moments of his adult life. Yeah, I can relate. Talking about happiest moments, best places to meet people for dating and such. The first things they want to do when they get out of the house, Big D wants to call his mom. Azah wants to call her parents as well. Big D wants to listen to music. Azah wants to go to CVS. She says she just wants to be a normal person, go in and buy some sour gummy worms or something and make a purchase and just do regular stuff. At which point Derek says, that's not a bad idea. I think I'll go to TJ Maxx. Maybe Target, but probably TJ Maxx. So they're figuring out what they want to do when they get out. And it is funny. The most simple things in life, having a wallet in your back pocket, having money, or just the tiniest things that we take for granted. And I remember the same thing, getting out of the house and just being amazed that I actually could buy something, that I actually had money to buy something. So yeah, I get what they're saying. It's kind of fun listening to. They're also talking about using credit cards again, driving, playing video games, all that kind of stuff. No gameplay, just having fun with each other. We also do have Azah and Big D talking about Kyland. Big D's saying, I'm just going to remember the good side. I'm not going to remember how he went out of the house, how tough that was. I'm just going to remember the good side of Kyland. But then he follows that up by saying, yeah, you know what? I would have never done what Kyland did, talking about Xavier's family like that, keeping my ring that I'd given to him. I wouldn't have done any of that. Well, I wouldn't have talked about Xavier's family the way Kyland did. I would have kept that ring. I'd give it back eventually, but I would have walked out that door with that ring and say, hey, Big D, if you promised it to me, then I'm keeping it. And then later we would have made up and done what needs to be done. All right, later we got Big D talking to the camera just by himself. He's talking to the cameras. He's noticed the cuddling that's going on between Xavier and Azah, and he's upset about it. He knows that it's a matter of Xavier trying to bond a little bit with Azah. In fact, he's saying, Azah, not to her, just to the cameras and to us. He's saying, Azah, you look so dumb. He doesn't want you. He doesn't want you. That's not why he's cuddling with you. He's just looking dumb doing it. I'm not sure I'd use the word dumb, but I think Big D recognizes there could be some ulterior motives, just like we notice as well. All right, we do have all three house guests sleeping in the bedroom, the yacht room together. Man, I remember when there was 3, 4, 5 of us during my season. I think we tried to stay spread out as much as possible. Well, maybe not Mickey and Holly. I guess they were sharing a close quarters, but Nicole and I certainly didn't want to share the same bedroom with them. And I think Nicole would take the RV room and I'd take the Target room. We were happy having some distance, splitting up from everyone else and having some private time, but not these three. They're sleeping all together in the same room. The Big D's getting questioned by Azah, and then Xavier kind of takes up the questioning as well. And it's all about, all right, Big D, we know you don't have any decision to make at this point, but if you'd won HOH, who would you have taken to the final two? And Big D can't keep that guy's mouth shut. He eventually says, well, I had to deal with Xavier. So yeah, Xavier, I would have taken you as my final two. Sorry, Azah, but I would have taken you too. Nah, that's not the right answer, Big D. You don't say that when you got two people sitting there in judgment deciding who, if they're going to take you to a final two chair or not. No, the correct answer, Big D, was I know who I would take. I had an idea who I was going to take, but I don't want to say it out loud because all I'm going to do is hurt someone's feelings. And so I don't want to break us up right now and create issues. So I'm not going to say. But no, he doesn't say that. He says, yeah, Xavier, I would have taken you. Azah, sorry. So now Azah's not feeling very well at all. She's visibly upset. She's trying to handle it. She's upset. She's let down, betrayed, I suppose. And now, as a result, by saying that, by Big D talking about it, is Azah less willing to take Big D if she wins the final competition and she has a choice? I would be less inclined to do so after hearing that my partner wasn't going to honor the deal or honor our friendship. So yeah, Big D just doesn't know when to stay quiet, does he? All right, she responds. Azah comes right back and she says, look, Big D, I would have taken you. I've always known that. I would have taken you to the final two. Now, Ozza, why would she say that in front of Xavier? She's got the same problems that Big D does of not sometimes being too honest. And Ozza's been right up front saying, yeah, I've always played this game honestly. Well, sometimes playing honestly isn't the best way to play the game. And her telling this to Big D in front of Xavier, I think is a mistake. If you tell Big D you would have taken him, that you will take him if you get the opportunity, it's only going to make Xavier play that final competition that much harder and potentially just a little less likely to take you along next to him if he has that choice. So way too much talking going on while they're sitting there in bed. All right. Big D eventually realizes that this isn't putting him in a good light. He starts getting upset a little bit. He says, look, y'all are giving me these questions, just toying with me. I don't have any say. So why are you asking me these questions? Well, should have thought about that a little bit earlier. All right, we eventually have Ozza alone talking to the cameras. Big D and Xavier have gone out into the living room. Ozza's still in the back bedroom. She's talking to the cameras. She's considering, now, all these conversations have repercussions and implications. And here you go. Ozza's now considering whether she should make an agreement with Xavier where they agree to take each other to the final two so that whoever wins doesn't really matter. Now, it may matter in terms of jury speeches. If Ozza was to win this final battle and drag Xavier along, does it make the difference in who wins? Probably not. But at least then she has the argument of, hey, Xavier's only here because I decided I wanted him here. And that carries a lot of weight also. So it matters from a jury vote, but she's thinking that if we agree to take each other, then it doesn't really matter who wins. We'll both be in the final two, no matter what. But she is also afraid that if she does that, if she takes Xavier with her, that he would win against her. Yes, he would, Ozza. Welcome to reality. He would. But she also is saying, look, from a money-wise standpoint, it's much better for me to take Big D. I think I got a better chance against Big D. I don't think I can win against Xavier. But she follows that up by saying that money really hasn't been her main motivation this season in playing Big Brother. And so why should she necessarily be making that decision at this point in time? If you're playing Big Brother, you need to play selfish. You need to play for the $750,000. That's what we as viewers want to see. But I get it. I do get it. And there's lots of decisions Ozza's made that maybe do suggest that it's not all about the money for her. But she's also at this point saying that she doesn't respect Big D's game anymore. And she'd kind of be happy to see Xavier win. Again, he didn't do himself any favors by talking about that he would have taken Xavier, because now he's got her feeling a little upset. So she's saying, I don't respect Big D's game anymore. I'd rather see Xavier win. I guess we know who she's going to vote for if she goes to jury, if she has a jury vote, right? Would Big D get any votes up against Xavier? Maybe Brittany. I'm not even sure if that's the case. I could see it being a 9-0 and unanimous vote. But she's also mentioning, she's saying, Big D was my heart decision. Money decision aside, heart decision, Big D was my choice up until just last week. And now my decision's a little more shaky. I'm not certain what I'm going to do. So if you're looking for a little uncertainty in the very final episode and finale night, we need to be cheering for Ozza. If Ozza wins, I still think I think she'll take Big D, but we don't know for certain. So that's, I guess, what you should be cheering for. And later, we've got Ozza talking to Xavier about Big D and some of the statements that Big D's made, and that she feels like maybe he's disrespected her a little bit and not really respected her game, maybe is a better way to put it. So she's griping to Xavier a little bit, and Xavier is telling her the same thing that he told to Big D last week with regards to Kylan. He's saying, just stop talking game to Big D. It's not going to help anything. Just stop talking about it. We already know where everyone's at. Just let it be. And I agree. I understand. But there's still campaigning. There's still pitching to be done, even though we kind of think we know how everything's going to play out for these last couple of days. So there you have it, guys. All three are back in the yacht room, back in bed. I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock or so. Lights go out. Everyone calls it a night. I called it a night as well. And there you have it. There's no veto ceremony going on today. It's just a regular old Monday inside the Big Brother house. And then tomorrow will be a regular old Tuesday inside the Big Brother house. And then we'll have finale on Wednesday, and we'll call this thing good, and we'll see who walks out with a big old check of $750,000. I think I know who it's going to be, but you never know. Expect the unexpected. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Monday. Enjoy the start of a new week. And just an FYI, it is Monday tonight on YouTube. I'll be doing my Cliff Notes live, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Come on out. We'll primarily be talking Big Brother, I'm sure. So if you've got any specific questions, come on out tonight. We'll do some interactive chat. We'll wrap up the season a little bit. We'll talk about all kinds of fun stuff. So until then, guys, y'all have a fantastic Monday. Cheers, my friends. SKD 143. Bye.